What's up, everybody? Mitchell Chirac here with you from the Liquid Culture. It is Tuesday, Wine Tasting Tuesday, aka Wine Tasting 101, aka Tasting with Intent. Thank you for being here with me today. We're getting into red wines. So we've done the first three videos of this series, Wine Tasting 101 series, all three white wines. So for those of you out there looking to get excited about the red wines, we are getting into those today. We're going to go light to big, kind of in order for the remaining part of this series, and we're going to start pretty much as light as it gets, Pinot Noir. So Pinot Noir double take this week for the Liquid Culture, so stay tuned.
The Liquid Culture.
Alright guys, so Pinot Noir today, Wine Tasting 101. We are going to be talking all about how to taste Pinot Noir, even though we're starting with probably the lightest red wine out there, at least in terms of, kind of the most well-known red wine varietals. It is still a very complex red wine, and a very much beloved and very much sort of misunderstood at times red wine Pinot Noir is. So let me show you what we've got. It's the 2015 Pinot Noir from Windy Oaks, which has their tasting room in Monterey, California, right there in the Central Coast. These grapes come from the Santa Cruz Mountains, really nice, high elevation, cool climate Pinot Noir. So reason I talk about Pinot Noir, or reason I mention cool climate, is when it comes to Pinot Noir, that it is probably the most fickle red wine grape to grow, and really kind of demands a cool climate, guys. So likes the chillier weather, likes the longer hang time, takes some more time to really ripen up. So Pinot Noir is one of those wines that you really can get a sense of terroir from. So when you're tasting Pinot Noir, and when you're tasting with intent, and when you're trying to figure out where you like Pinot Noir from, it's going to be very, very important, especially with this grape, that you're realizing that you're paying attention to what you're picking up in the glass to determine if you're into Old World Pinot Noir or New World Pinot Noir. Now, when I say Old World versus New World, what do I mean by that? So Old World are going to be those countries that have the most kind of long-standing kind of winemaking history. We're talking predominantly Europe. So you're looking at France, where you've got Burgundy and Champagne is where Pinot Noir is coming from. You've got Pinot Noir coming from other Old World countries like Germany and Austria. In the New World, you're looking at these newer countries who are starting to produce Pinot Noir, still in cool climates because that's what Pinot Noir likes, but New World areas like California, like Oregon, New Zealand, Chile, all showing really great examples of Pinot Noir, but in a slightly different style. Now, I say that with a caveat because since Burgundy Pinot Noir is the kind of the gold standard for wine lovers, and people really geek out on Burgundy red wines, Burgundy white wines too. There are a lot of New World producers in places like Oregon and California, in particular Sonoma, Santa Barbara, Willamette Valley in Oregon, who are trying to make Burgundy imitators with their Pinot Noir. So when we're talking about this today, we're going to try and keep it to these two different kind of ideologies, New World versus Old World. This week's Pinot Noir Wednesday coming up tomorrow. I've got a Burgundy, so we're going to have a nice little juxtaposition, hopefully. I don't think that Windy Oaks is trying to be too much of a Burgundy imitator, but they definitely do follow some practices that are similar. But when we're trying to talk about it today in Wine Tasting 101, I want you guys to remember New World versus Old World. So generally, Old World is more of a focus on earthy qualities. It's going to be lower alcohol and less of a influence of oak. In the New World, you're looking at generally slightly warmer, relatively, climates, or that's the idea, right? So you got higher alcohol, more kind of phenolically ripe, bigger structure, usually kind of going more towards the juicy, full palate end of the spectrum, and you're looking at, in some places, more of an oak influence on the wine than in the Old World. So just keep those two things in mind when you're really trying to pick out whether you like New World versus Old World Pinot Noir, and you can also kind of think about that more in a generic sense, in that even though you decide that you like, say, Old World style Pinot Noir, that doesn't mean you only have to buy your Pinot Noir from Burgundy. You can find Old World style Pinot Noir from New World producers. So now that we've got that kind of cleared up, let's dive into the wine here. So again, 2015 Windy Oaks Pinot Noir, Santa Cruz Mountains, which is Central Coast, California. Higher elevation, so you do still have a cool climate here in the Santa Cruz Mountains. Windy Oaks, we just stumbled into Windy Oaks tasting room because they're right next to Ian Brand's tasting room there in Monterey, and we're actually pleasantly surprised with the quality of the wine there. Not that we had any sort of context going into it that they would be bad, you never really know what to expect. So just right off the bat, color here, really nice pale ruby leaning towards garnet. So we've talked about that before. Ruby kind of being somewhere between that real red, rusty garnet and that real bluish kind of purple. So this is definitely in that middle ruby ground, but I would say more so towards that red garnet color, nice and pale like you expect with a Pinot Noir. On the nose, I'm getting tart cherry, raspberry, there's a little kind of peppery quality, but it's fruit. I mean, this is perfect. I'm very glad that this is what ended up happening here with our New World expression on today's video. Fruit is dominating here. Red fruits. Cherries, raspberries are the predominant aroma that's coming up out of the glass here, which is a very classic New World Pinot Noir. There's a slight kind of menthol thing going on here, like a eucalyptus or something like that, which I find very common in wines from the Santa Cruz Mountains. So a little kind of minty, eucalyptus-y kind of a menthol thing, in addition to tart cherry, bright, fresh raspberry. Definitely red fruit spectrum, guys, when we're talking about categorizing, finding these overall kind of general categories for kind of cataloging the fruits that you're picking up. You like to start broad spectrum and hone it in. So we're in red fruit category here. We're in fresh, bright red fruits. So everything is like very freshly picked, like you're at the farmer's market and you're going around looking for your fresh berries. That's what's happening in the glass right here, with that kind of eucalyptus-y, minty, kind of menthol-y thing going on as well. Let's dive in for a sip. Nice medium body, like you expect with Pinot Noir. Tannin is, I would say, medium tannin as well, which is nice. Acidity, also medium, maybe medium plus on the acidity. So to kind of put Pinot Noir in more of a generic category here, guys, when you're thinking about overall wine varietals, red wine varietals, if you're drinking Pinot Noir, what you should experience with the structure is a medium body, medium to low tannin, and a medium to medium plus acidity. So that's kind of your baseline for Pinot Noir. If you've got a wine that you're drinking a Pinot Noir, it's very light in color, lighter in body, not a ton of tannin, nothing real grippy or chewy, but it allows you to kind of get in there and really taste some of the nuance and smell some of the nuance of your Pinot Noir. It's not the structure that's going to be the overbearing aspect of a Pinot Noir. The other thing to think about when I talk about Old World versus New World Pinot Noir, New World Pinot Noir, just like everything else really, is going to be more approachable early on. So this is a 2015 Pinot Noir from California. In drinking it, finish is a little short for me, but I would say that that's probably because this wine was made with the intent of it being drank. You know, it's 2020 now. I would say that this was probably like a 4-year wine, intended to be drank somewhere in that 3 to 4 year age range. So in 2015 or 2019, it's probably coming off of its, you know, kind of hit its peak, and it's kind of starting to come down now. Let me take another sip here. That tart cherry, definitely confirmed on the palate. There's a little hint of almost like a plum. I would say kind of starting to ease into those darker fruits a little bit of plum, but there's really no earthiness here to speak of. Outside of that kind of tertiary aroma, which not to throw too many complex terms out there, but your first things that you look for in the wine are going to be your fruit. Then you look to oak, and then tertiary character is usually going to be something that's a little bit kind of playing that undertone a little bit. With this, it's that minty eucalyptusy thing. A lot of times what you look for there, especially with Pinot Noir, is going to be earthy characteristics, soil, mushrooms, things of that nature, and that's really not coming out here. I absolutely expect to get it in tomorrow's video, but this one is primarily that primary fruit. It's that high-toned, nice, crunchy, acidic, kind of cherries, strawberries, raspberries, and it's leading towards a little bit of that plummy thing. A little bit. Yeah, this one I would say definitely kind of on its way out, but if this was a 2015 Burgundy, it would just be getting started, probably might not even be approachable at this point, and that is one of the major differences between New World and Old World Pinot Noir. So that's Wine Tasting 101 with Pinot Noir, guys. Look out for the video tomorrow if you want to see. I know that I'm trying to keep it like Wine Tasting 101 Tuesdays. That's for kind of the introductory stuff. Pinot Noir Wednesdays is a little bit more geeky stuff. But in this week's kind of version of the two, since I've got Pinot Noir, New World Pinot Noir here today, and we're going to do Old World Pinot Noir tomorrow, I would highly, highly recommend checking out tomorrow's video so that you can see the difference in the two. All right, guys, Mitchell Chirac, Liquid Culture, Wine Tasting 101 with Pinot Noir. We'll catch you next time. Later.